Hello there, it's Yvonne. I've got such a juicy topic for you today. It is real stories, real adventures, real women, just tales from the trails. So hello, if you don't know me, I'm Yvonne Shepherd, founder and CEO of Women's Fitness Adventures. I have been teaching and training women for multi-day hiking adventures for almost 12 years now, and it has been a pleasure and a delight. And I have seen firsthand, I'm 59, seen not only for myself, but seen over the 12 years, the changes. We've had many, many women who have stayed with us or been with us through our whole 12 years, and just the changes that we all go through, the stories that we share, the conversations we have with ourselves and each other's. And it is a real insight into the lives of Australian women. And if you're sitting there thinking, I don't feel like myself anymore, or this has changed, or that has changed, or I don't know what to do, or what about this, or what about that, or what's real, what's not real, then this is the conversation for you. And I encourage you to really jump in and make comments and share, because it is such a great topic, and it's not until we walk alongside someone or hike alongside someone that shares the same values as us that we actually realize that our stories and our struggles and our triumphs we may think are just related to us, but the more we share and the more we connect with real women like us in real places and real spaces, we realize that we're not alone. So hello Marie, hello Brod. Oh, I don't even know if Brod's here. And hello, Christine. You might be able to see people that I can't see. So if you're watching, please go ahead and say hi. Some of our members are watching. And if you are new to this space and haven't been here before, then a very big welcome to you. So it helps me to know who you are, but that's okay. If you don't want to, then that's perfectly okay as well. So our topic today is real strength, real women, and real adventures. And I have been thinking about this for a little while now, because and I have a lot of wonderful friends in this space as well who, work with women going through menopause, who work with women who are grandmothers and want to be active, women who are coming back from injury. So this whole space around women, I have lots of friends and business colleagues in this space. And someone asked me the other day, how long have I been in the women's space for? And I've been in women's health and wellness for over 20 years now. And what prompted me to get started, and I know some of you have heard this story before, is that, we just as women are our very own worst critics. We want to move ourselves forward. We want to progress, but, we're born with this innate ability to nurture others before ourselves. And then we get to this certain age, whatever that age is, and you'll know, where we think, well, it's actually time for me. We become a little bit resentful of ourselves, and where's the time for me? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, where do I go? What do I do? How do I awaken this giant, or how do I move from the space I am now to where I want to be? So hello, Barbara. Hello, Alethea. Hello, Elizabeth. So this morning we were having this chat on the trail, and for some of you know, I hike every Monday morning, and it's a great way to start the week. And if I don't hike on a Monday morning because I have something on, I really feel like something's missing. So, I've established that routine and ritual in my week to start it off. But we were chatting this morning, and we're a couple of years apart, one of the ladies I was chatting with, and we were talking about the changes in our body. Now, I'm 59, and some of you may know for the last couple of years, I've really been going through this. Maybe it's been denial, maybe it's been just health changes. But really, the girl I once was, the woman I once was, I'm not her anymore. And I really have been struggling to leave her behind. And I'm not really sure of who the lady that I'm stepping into is, or whether I'm yet ready to meet her. And we were having this very conversation this morning, because I happen to be, I also sense right now that there's this underlying sense of anxiety that exists in the world, that there's so much absolute garbage going on, not just in terms of global politics, but in terms of AI and knowing what's even real, what words are written, what are the people real. For all I could be sitting here as a carbon copy robot, but the robot would probably get all the words right. And for those of you who live in tropical climates like I do, or subtropical, the constant storm warnings that come through every other day, just this low level sense of anxiety that we can't tend to feel truly at peace. And it's not just the women I associate with, it's kind of all ages and all people. So we were having this little conversation, and I was listening to some podcasts on my way over there. And the first one was about something about aging. And it said, if you have 1 cup of coffee, this is your risk. If you have 2, and I went, I'm just turning that off. I'm not interested in giving up my coffee. I don't have a lot of vices. Coffee is staying. And then the next one, I won't tell you what the topic was about, but it was just a bit heavy. And I went, I don't need this. And I don't want to listen to the news. I find the news is really agitating. So I just listened to music. So anyway, we were having this conversation about my travels to hiking. And one of the ladies I was walking alongside with, so I aim to walk alongside as many as possible, even though we're in a big group, was about how our bodies are changing and the things that we were doing, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, what we eat, what we drink or don't drink, our hydration, our nutrition, our exercise are all the same, yet we're different. The weight might be piling on around the middle. We're not sleeping, the hot flushes, all that sort of stuff. Now, I'm not here to talk about menopause because I'm not an expert and it's not my wheelhouse. But, we were having this conversation that we're still the same person, yet all this stuff is changing around us. And that one of the podcasts I was listening to this morning, and hopefully I'll get my analogy right, was that the moth became the chrysalis. And if someone's into science or biology or whatever it might be, became the chrysalis, and then it emerged to this beautiful butterfly. And for some of us, we might feel that we're in this space where we're penned in and that we're stuck in this place that we don't feel perhaps is serving us right. Not in any tragic way, but just, I don't know how to move from her to her, and what do I need to do? And then questioning everything around us. So the second part of our conversation then moved on to, as a group, we were talking about what's real anymore and how do you actually know what's real and what's not. And everything you see on social media, do you question it because, it appears real, it all appears real, but it's not all real, and that everything is sounding, it's all sounding the same. And what was once even our own language that we have inside Women's Fitness Adventures, you're seeing everywhere. Some of those words and sayings that we have had since we first started are now just out there everywhere, and it makes us all the same. And if we're all the same, then how do you know who's really real and who's not? Because we all sound genuine and we all, or not, and we all are offering the same thing. So how do you know what's real? So my challenge to you on that question is question everything, ask questions, because it's the depth of the answers that will give you some insight into the knowledge of what's real. So how do we know, though, when everything looks the same, what we should do, and what's a real woman, what's a real adventure, what's a real story, what's real strength? And, when we were talking about this, I'm eating the same things, I'm eating well, I'm exercising the same, if not more, yet my body shape is still changing. What we've neglected to talk about in the conversation, which is really hard because what we see out there in social media, what we hear, about some of the new drugs that are around, is that women who make themselves smaller are actually more valued. And, as we get older, and for those of you that still have parents, cherish your parents. But having seen both my parents deteriorate and then pass away, is that it didn't matter what they looked like. Yes, your health matters, but what matters is that they had the strength to hold, or not, to hold themselves up. And so when we were having this conversation about our shape and this mid bit, and jeans and clothes don't fit and you have to change them every couple of months till hopefully something settles, is we weren't talking about our strength. And every woman out there on our hikes, every woman in our community who is out there and active and doing stuff is building that strength. And it's that strength that will hold us in good stead going forward. And some of you come to my online fitness classes twice a week that they're on. And I don't know if I said to you, but one of my friends, well, one of the ladies in the group, and if you're watching, identify yourself. She was telling me that her partner was looking at the exercises that we were doing, and he tried to do it. She said, if you can't do it, like, just lift your game, because if you're 60 something now and you can't do it, what are you going to be like when you're 70? So lift your game. So what we underestimate when we talk about all the visual things that we see with ourselves, and that self-talk that we give ourselves, which is sometimes not very nice, is that we're forgetting about strength. And we might have this constant argument when we're on the trails about our head and our heart, having this thing, and my legs are tired, but are they really tired, or is it just your ego trying to take over and take the easy way out? So, we can only increase our strength by participating, by showing up, and by getting real with ourselves as well. So real strength comes from that consistency of showing up. And, we were also having this conversation this morning, and for the first time in about 12 years, it's hot. Right. I have been hiking in Queensland heat for a long, long time, and, weekly for at least the last 12 years. And I can tolerate the heat. But in the last couple of weeks, and it's not even summer, it's hot. It's just really hot. And we all generally show up feeling a little bit the same, a little bit, it's November, or a little bit tired, and we show up because we like the company of the people that we keep inside of all of our community. Show up to all of our things that way. But one of the ladies there this morning said, I don't actually feel like I'm achieving. Now, that is not true, because showing up is achieving. But if we think back to where we were a few months ago in terms of what we were capable of doing then and what we're capable of doing now, then we are achieving. But sometimes when we are just in a group with others, it's all relative, and we're all improving at the same time. So how do we actually know if we're improving or not? So, that showing up with consistency, that showing up, that whatever your hiking skill is, that if you continue to show up, you will build that strength and you will get results. And it doesn't matter what we look like. And, the midlife body, or midlife and maybe a little bit later, whatever we constitute that space as, a little bit like that moth to become the butterfly, is there's no quick fix. And we might show up, and some of us might have grey hair, some of us might not. We might show up with a muffin top. We might show up with definitely no makeup to hiking. We show up as a real woman on the trail, a real person, and we have real connections and we have real stories. And there's no quick fix to how we get from where we were before we got to, this menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause age, to where we get to when we flourish and become that butterfly. But we know that we have the wisdom, and we know that we have the knowledge, and we learn as we go, and we support one another. So we build that strength not only in our physical by showing up and accepting who we are, and accepting that the real people around you, those women who are, and here's another word that's overused, like-minded women, but the real women around you who show up for you, who show up to have the conversation with you, who show up because they understand. And yeah, hopefully I got it right, Suze, and show up to, to accept you and encourage you and inspire you for who you are. That's where real strength, that's where real women, that's where real adventures, and that's where real growth is made for us as well. So we often know, as we're becoming, moving through this space, I see and hear many, many women, lots not in our community and some in our community, who get stuck though. They get stuck in this space of, it's too hard, I don't have time, such and such came, and took my moment away that I was going to go and do this or that, or you gave me a training plan and I didn't have time to do it. And now here I am, and, I'm on an adventure and I haven't done the training. And I talk to a lot of our suppliers, and it's not just us, who, as women, I think it's across the universal board is that nobody reads anymore. No one reads itineraries. No one reads training plans. And we show up and we think that we might just be able to wing it, but we can't wing it. We have to do the work. So we get stuck. We get stuck in this, well, didn't work last time, so it's not going to work next time. And, you know, and if this might be what I have with some of my business colleagues, we say is a big love slap, meant from the kindest of intentions, is that where we sit right now, if we feel that we're stuck, is it's too painful to move to somewhere else. So we sit in our pain because we actually enjoy that place. Where, you know, that place might not be physically painful, but we enjoy being uncomfortable. We enjoy the torturing ourselves in wherever we want to be because we find it too hard to move to that next space. And it's not until we keep playing that same story over and over and over in our heads when we really want to be in a different, moved on to somewhere else. But we can't shift. We can't break that story that we keep telling ourselves. So, when you find those real women, when you find the real stories, when you find that real strength, that's what will help you move from one place to the next. But how do you know? And we come back to the lady this morning that said, I don't feel like I'm improving. How do you know if you're improving? And we often talk about this in our masterclasses. We definitely talk about this in our online fitness classes, is our ability to benchmark. And so as the woman that you are today, do you feel stronger than the woman that you were 5 years ago? And the only way to know that is if you start to measure things. So if you can walk further than you could 5 years ago, if you can lift weights, which I encourage every single woman to do, and you couldn't do that, or you can lift more, not more weight, but for longer, or you can, get up and down off the floor. So many women cannot get up and down off the floor. That is a full risk, let alone a limiting risk in life as well. So, these are the stories and the struggles of real women. And what we want to do is build real strength for women. And we want real friendships, and we want real stories as well. We don't want this is my hobby horse. We don't want this vanilla stuff that we're seeing online. We don't want the fake stuff. So we know that when we get into the outdoors, that hiking is really, really good for us. Not just for, the physical moving, but for the forest bathing, as the Japanese call it, where those smells and sights and sounds of getting out in nature do a lot for us. But it's the connections that we make with others. It's the ability to get the joints moving as they should, get the muscles moving as they should as well. And so when we create adventures, when we create day hikes, when we create longer things, we bake all that with intention into what we actually do. So we want to make sure that, the authenticity is there, that the realness is there, that the strength is there, that the training that you get as you go along is all building to make for a more real you, a more stronger you, a more adventurous you as well. So that you can move from that beautiful moth to the beautiful butterfly as well. Now, I know there's a lot of you watching and no one's commented so far, and I've only got one love heart. So I don't know whether this is resonating or whether this is not. But what I want you to think about as you go through, the world and move forward, that, and I, in the business part of my world, I see what technology is doing. I see what language is doing. I see what people are accepting as real is becoming. I see what we're not reading. I see what we are reading. I see attention to detail. I see the outsourcing of responsibility to others. I see entitlement. I see all of those things. So as you go forward from today onwards, I really want you to challenge all of that, to ask yourself, is this real? Am I building real strength here? Am I connecting to real places and real spaces? Am I, if in the hiking world, am I booking on real adventures? And I was chatting with a supplier today, and we were just talking about, she was asking about the strength of our community and how amazing our community was. And this is an international partner that we've had for a long, long time. And we had a great old chat. it was just lovely. And she said, as the internet makes it easier for more people to set up travel businesses and more people to sell you these things like I have and she has online, what you really need to start doing is questioning what's real, because the barriers to entry, so the ability to just jump in there and start your own thing, are getting less and less, and people aren't asking the right questions to find out what is real and what is not real. And that can lead to all sorts of things where expectations aren't met, or it's not a real business at all, or it's you end up someplace that you didn't want to be. So I encourage you as you go forward to really start to question what's real and what's not real. I dare say I'm trying to do it, but I have this love-hate relationship with it, because reaching you is how through Facebook is how we reach, we connect. But to try and spend less time on my phone, not in terms of calls, not in terms of messages and stuff, but just in terms of wasting time scrolling through someone else's life. Because I watched this thing, and another reason, I never used to think, I never used to buy magazines. I don't even know if they exist. I never used to think that I got caught up in the hype of what women should look like. And then I follow a lot of fitness people online, and then I saw this girl who was a fitness model, and she was gorgeous. And then she was doing this fitness shoot, and then they started to literally unpack her, and she was absolutely gorgeous. But what she had fake bum pads in her gym pants. She had fake things under her breasts. She had some things to make her hips look wider. And then she took all of that stuff out, and I went, wow, you don't even look like who you were. It's no wonder that for the hard, no wonder it's so hard for all of us, because we're seeing and being exposed to things that aren't real. And then we question why, as a woman, we don't feel worthy of it. And the stuff out there is it's just not real. It's just not possible. Even other things I follow online are, how to pose for photos. What you see them like, and how photos get edited and stuff, and you think that's not even the same thing, and people's profiles on LinkedIn do not look anything like they look in real life. So, I think as women, we need to build that real strength up here to start to just question every single thing. Who is real in my world? What is real? What does real mean to me as well? So I'm just going to pop a couple of comments here. And if you've got comments, please go ahead. Christine says, change can be intimidating, but staying in your comfort zone, which is not necessarily comfortable, can be a recipe for disaster. Yep. You know what? It's really ugly being out of your comfort zone till you get comfortable again. And, sometimes we can play comfy, we play easy. And then we get to that point where we get bored and we kind of look for something else. So comfort has its place, but change is where we grow. Change is how we stay young. Change is how we stay strong, and change is how we stay real. And Elizabeth says, Facebook shows me lots of the same trips. So yes, it's hard to find the best one and the real ones as well. And I was chatting to someone just the other day when we were on a hike, and they're looking at going to to base camp. And she said there's so much difference in price. And Jane, one of our leaders, often talks about this because she's been to base camp. And you get what you pay for. The faster you go to base camp, the less you have to adjust to altitude, and potentially the sicker you can get. But if you don't know those questions, if you're not asking those things, then you would just think, oh, that seems fair. I'm just going to go with that one and save my pennies and do something else. So yeah, you're right, Elizabeth. It's hard to find the best one and the real ones. And I always look for the about us, always look for the contact us. If there's no phone number, that's kind of a bit of an indication that no one wants to talk to you, which is really, I think, really important. Susan, hello. Nice to see you here. Working in aged care makes me realize that my mobility, not just for now, but for future me, is so important. That's my driving force. Absolutely, it is. And, you would see so much and so many reminders of why we need to move out of the stuck place. And if you are someone, not you, Susan, because I know how much you love moving and love walking. But if you are someone who is stuck, if you do not know how to move forward, then you need to find these real women I'm talking about. You need to find your real strength, and you need to find your real adventure, whatever that means to you, adventure, but you need to find it because you need to keep moving forward. And in the 20 years that I've had in the women's health and wellness, someone said to me, why did I start Women's Fitness Adventures? You know, we all want to look good and feel good, and we want to lose that last few kilos or more. And, you know, that means absolute diddly squat if you don't have a goal, because you'll never, ever get there. So you've got to find that thing that's real that will drive you and motivate you. But if you keep getting stuck, it's time to change the story. It's time to get real. So Brod says, and I loved your post today, Brod, and I'll reply to that. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I might read a little bit of it out loud in a moment, if that's okay. Brod says, on a recent holiday, in some places we sat on the floor to meet, and some couldn't. Absolutely. And some younger than me had severe trouble standing up. Yeah, absolutely. And it's when you realize how strong you are, right? We're not about comparing ourselves, but when you get out there and you see people and you think, oh my gosh, they're like half my age or 10 years younger and they can't do that, how it really reinforces to you how much stronger than you are, than you think you are. On the weekend, my husband and I went to buy a new bed. And if you've ever done that with your husband, it's an experience, let me tell you. It was just like rolling my eyes with him and the salesman. But I was just sitting on the bed, like propping the pillows up behind me, going, oh, what does it feel like if I just sit here on the bed? And he said, do you want to sit on the bed like that? I said, well, no, not really. I'm just kind of testing it. Sometimes I might want to have a cup of tea in bed, but that's it. And he said to me, no, here, let me press the buttons and I'll automatically set you up so that you can tip it up. And I said, I don't want that. That feels like being in a home that I don't want to be in. And he said, well, let me tell you, I had a 23-year-old come in the other day, and that's all they wanted. They wanted just to spend their life sitting up in bed. And I went, wow, that's interesting. It goes to show how much society has changed as well. So, you know, it could be that they play video games in bed all day. I don't know. But, you know, just that fact of, I didn't even have to physically get some pillows off the floor to sit myself up in bed. I could just press a button. So it goes to the point of mobility. It goes to the point of getting up and down off the floor. While I've got you there, I'm just going to read Brod's, if that's okay, little story, because last week, it is sad, Christine. I don't know the whole story, but, you know, that's what he told me. Last week, we spoke about looking backwards to look forward, and how if we don't ever look back at how far we've come, then we really don't appreciate all the things that we do on a, you know, so, you know, that saying, show me your daily habits and I'll show you your life. That, right? So Brod says she listened to it and inspired her to comment, and she always has wonderful comments. And about 5 years ago, she willingly go for walks with friends and family. I'm giving the abridged version. If it were to get somewhere of note and to not miss out, but long walks or hills were out of the question. Then Women's Fitness Adventures popped into her life, and how things have changed so much. She now walks for fun. So if you're stuck and think, I'd like to walk for fun, here's the story. I climb hills and mountains for fun. And I've had stories of members who sit on the beach and look at the sand dunes and go, that looks like fun. I encourage others to walk. I don't have any trouble filling in my spare time, and heavens above, I even pay for guided hikes in different places around the world. Who would have ever thought I would do that? But what has come with that is a sense of well-being and good health, a feeling of looking more toned, having much more stamina. Here's our real woman, our real strength, along with the pleasure of having met so many beautiful members in that time, and definitely Brod, beautiful friends that you would have met on all your travels around the world too. Surprising, not only to me, but those close to me, definitely. Eye-opening, not just to my abilities, but to the world around me, incredibly. Life-changing, absolutely. Grateful every day. And then there's a picture of her in a recent trip in Morocco. So, you know, that's a real story, a real woman, a real adventure, real strength. And, you know, you too can be one of those stories. We just have to figure out what's real, figure out what's stopping us from being real, getting real with ourselves, accepting ourselves and moving forward. So Thank you to everyone who has shared stories on here tonight. And if anyone is watching on the replay and wants to share a story, please do. Or if you want to just send me a story and I can feature that, to inspire other women, because that's what it does. It's the real stories of real women inspiring others. And I've seen that in that 20 years I've worked in women's health and wellness. And I know I can sprout on here for ages, but it's really not me that will be the game changer. It's you that will change the game for someone else by being that friend, by being that real support, and that real anchor in someone's life. So just going to reiterate again, look for the real, question everything. You see lots of things out there, and if you pull the curtain back on them, all is not what it seems. If it seems too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Nobody is perfect. We want everything to be perfect. We compare to best in the world, and sometimes genuine and real is much better than comparing ourselves to best in the world. But really just think, if you're stuck, what do I need to do to get unstuck? How can I get unstuck? And it may be that we don't reach the moon or the stars, but it may be that we move a long, long way from where we currently are. And if you're someone who keeps getting, into things and then stuck, you just can't seem to move it forward no matter how hard you try, think about what it is that's actually, I'm not a psychologist, I've just been around women for a long, long time. What is it that's actually stopping you moving forward? And you heard Brod's story, and there's plenty of other stories for our members inside the community of how to move forward. And I know that with determination, everyone can do that. You just got to find the right little guiding star, the real story, the real you, in all of that. So that's it from me. I do hope you have enjoyed today. Real women, real adventures, real strength, real stories. And if you do have a story, please let me know. If you're watching on replay, please let me know as well. And I look forward to catching up with you next week. So thanks very much. Bye.